It's California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in Sacramento. Today we are joined by Tony Mendoza. He is a member of the California State Senate, but has been a school teacher for many years. So I want to speak with you about the controversy surrounding vaccinations. Talk to us about, when you were a teacher, what you would see and hear with regard to the children and their parents as it related to vaccinations.
Well, when I was teaching, it really didn't seem to be a big issue because it wasn't in the media as much. And right now, if you could think back of the recent outbreaks, now everybody's talking about it, and when it's always really been there. But it just hasn't got that much attention.
And what's interesting about the vaccination debate is that those that seem to be kind of this anti-vax crowd, they tend to be wealthier, they tend to be whiter, they tend to be Democrats, if you know what I'm saying. And so it's the west side of Los Angeles. And so when you think and hear and see that, how do you approach it? Because it's not the normal allies that you would see.
Yeah, but you know, the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what your background is. The reality is, are we protecting kids? Are we protecting our community, our society? Because, you know, these outbreaks will affect everybody. And these outbreaks don't, you know, they have no borders or boundaries or ethnicities or anything. They just go after our community. I think we need to be very conscious of that.
And let's talk about a unique angle on this vaccination debate, because many of us have been focused on vaccinating the children because we know that that's the first line of defense. Senator Pan, one of your colleagues, has a bill pending that's gotten a lot of play. But there's another bill that's gotten a lot of play, and it's by Senator Tony Mendoza, SB 792. And you're looking not at the children, but at the
caregivers.
The child caregivers.
That's right, that's right.
And it makes all the sense in the world. I have to say, you know, when I saw this, I thought, well, of course, why haven't we been talking about this before? Explain.
Think about it. I mean, most people don't think about the people that are actually in the front lines taking care of these small children. As a school teacher, I've taught first grade for many years. I did 3 years of first grade.
Sure.
And they're small, and they need a lot of hands-on work. But they're preschool age kids. You're talking about 5 years or under. That's a whole different batch. Those kids need a lot of hands-on help. A lot of these caregivers, they have close and intimate contact with these kids.
And what I learned through working on this issue and covering this issue, with regard to measles, for example, if one walks into a room and someone has measles and you are not vaccinated, the chance that you will obtain the virus is 9 out of 10. That's how contagious measles is. So imagine if a caregiver has contact with the virus and is changing the baby's diaper. I mean, forget it.
Right, and not only that, but these caregivers, they show them, they prepare their food. Right. They actually show them how to eat, how to hold the food. These kids sometimes need to be, they have to wipe their noses. Right. You name it. They're in the front line. And if you think about these kids, they're so young, they're not fully immunized.
That's exactly
They're
right.
prohibited from getting all the vaccinations.
Well, some of them, I don't think you can even get it in your first year of life. Yeah. And many kids are going to daycare. Their parents are working. Right. And so if the caregiver, forget the other children, if the caregiver is carrying this disease, I mean, it's checkmate for these poor children.
Right.
So talk to us about your bill. What exactly, well, currently, are caregivers required to be vaccinated?
No, the current law does not mandate for caregivers to be vaccinated. And that's the reaction that I get from people that I've spoken to. They're like, wow.
I know. Who would have thunk, right?
Yeah, and so they're a little bit kind of taken aback, so they see the need.
And so your bill would require caregivers to be vaccinated?
Yes.
Would there be a personal exemption, for example?
At this point, we don't have one, but we are considering one for like medical exemptions.
Which one could understand. Right. I mean, if there's a medical reason not to have it. But that being said, if someone does have a medical exemption, should they be allowed to be a caregiver?
I think that center needs to really make a decision on, if, you know, do you want to have somebody that could not only expose the children around them, but remember, if these caregivers are not properly vaccinated, they're going to take that back home to them. To their own home. So you're going to protect not only the children, but the individual workers' home.
So this would apply to anyone who works at a, we'll call it preschool, nursery school, child care facility.
Yes.
What happens if, for example, there's a preschool on a campus that has the K-12 on it as well?
It would apply to them too. Anybody that provides any kind of daycare, and there are some schools that do provide daycare.
Right.
And so they would also be included.
Let's talk about K-12. because while kids who are already in K are not as vulnerable as those preschool kids, even if they aren't vaccinated, I mean, it begs the question, why shouldn't our teachers be vaccinated?
Right. Currently, teachers are not required to be vaccinated. They do require...
How is that possible?
Yes.
If you want, when you told me that outside, I was stunned. I just presumed if the kids have to be vaccinated, why wouldn't the teachers have to be?
The only requirement right now the teachers have is to be tested for tuberculosis, and they have to do that every year, every 2 years, and they just have to go take the test and then come back and make sure.
I mean, TB is infectious indeed, but so's measles.
Right.
So's whooping cough. You know, so's rubella. You know, so's chickenpox. So's Hep C or Hep A and B. I mean, these are all incredibly contagious diseases.
Right. And that's what we're starting with the young kids right now, because those kids, their bodies are not fully developed to be immunized. The older kids, we're hoping that their parents by that time, because when they go to kindergarten, they have to show proof of immunization.
Right.
So, and then they give them a certain time period for the parents to turn it in. We're supposed to keep on that and making sure that they all have been vaccinated.
Well, we know it's not happening.
It's not happening, exactly. So we're at the K-12 angle. We're kind of covering in the sense that when the kids enroll, they have to show proof that they've been immunized.
But how do we? I mean, we're digressing a bit, but we know, like you said, that sometimes a child will be admitted conditionally because maybe they've had one of their vaccines, but they haven't gotten the booster. But then it's not being tracked.
Right.
And so is there legislation to mandate tracking? Is it something that can be mandated? Do you have a sense of what's going on that front?
Not yet, but you know what? The discussions are pretty much taking place at this time.
So let's go back to the K-12 teacher. What is the rationale, at least at this stage, to have 792 focus exclusively on the let's say pre-K caregiver as opposed to all the way through?
Yes. The main points there is that these children that are under 5, when they get this infectious diseases, they actually suffer the most. They have the most critical condition. Response to these kind of infections. They get the brunt of it. On top of that, when they're under 5, they can't take all the vaccines themselves. So we have to make sure that the adults around them are well vaccinated. There's a well medical defined term called cocooning that actually
herd protection.
Yeah, you actually protect the people that are taking care of the herd, the children.
No, I've heard that. I understand if the vaccination rate is close to 95%, that you get that herd cocoon protection.
Right.
But if it drops below that, the protection isn't there.
Right.
But I am sure I'm not the first person who said to you, Senator Mendoza, why not include K-12? What are you hearing on the why not K-12? Has the CTA, for example, jumped in?
No, my initial conversations with the teachers, K-12 teachers, they don't mind it. They wouldn't mind being a part of the vaccination program. But right now, we're just solely focused on the younger kids, just because I do feel that is the most the place that we could target the best and
what are you hearing from your colleagues, for example, on this bill? I presume it's a 50+1 bill, so presumably you could talk to your caucus exclusively, but I would presume you're speaking with your friends on the Republican side as well.
So far, they've been very responsive, and they've been very supportive, and they've been like, wow, I didn't know, and as it moves forward, we look forward to voting on it, so it's just great.
And is there a interest group, K-12 teachers have the CTA. Is there an interest group that would weigh in on behalf of child care workers? I don't know the answer.
There are a few groups that actually represent a lot of the daycare centers and a lot of the kids in that age group. And so far, actually, we've gotten a few emails from a few daycares that have actually been supportive of it.
They're ready to go.
Yeah, it's good to hear and see that they see the importance and they see the value of this important vaccination.
So what's your sense of how this bill is doing, how the Senator Pan's bill is doing as it marches through the legislature? I mean, it's California.
Yes. It's similar bills, but at the same time, they're different.
Right.
And he's taking a different approach, which is going after the kids, and that becomes very personal to a lot of these parents that are being strong advocates against it. My bill is going after the adults who actually take care of these kids, and so it's hard for them to kind of be against it, like, oh, well, okay, fine, so there is some resentment.
He is Tony Mendoza. He's a member of the California State Senate. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are coming to you from Sacramento on California Edition.